Insomnia, also known as sleeplessness, is a common sleep disorder that can make it hard to fall asleep, stay asleep, or cause you to wake too early, unable to get back to sleep. Insomnia can sap not only your energy level and mood, but also your health, work performance, and quality of life. In this episode, we discuss the reasons why you might not be sleeping well and what you can do about it. And be sure to listen to the end because I have a gift for you. Sleep is one of the most critical components to our health and how we function in life. Here to share his wisdom is my good friend, Jody Boynton, who I introduced you to in episode 5 when we talked about exercise. Jody is a fitness and nutrition expert and a personal trainer with over 20 years' experience in helping people get and stay healthy. Welcome to the show, Jody Boynton.
Hey, Deborah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So, Jody, we were talking about this earlier. The issue of sleep deprivation isn't something that humans have always struggled with. And when I did a little bit of research, I was discovering that years ago, hundreds of years ago, when we were cavemen and women, and we would be out there hunting and gathering all day and running from animals and for our life. And then we would sit by the fire and relax at the end of the day, have something to eat, and then go to sleep through the night and wake up refreshed, ready to do it all again. And I'm wondering the relevance of our modern day life. How would you say that affects our sleep patterns?
Before the industrial age, we had candlelight generally, and people still had to do their own washing, which was highly manual, had to bring their own water, and still had a very physical life, which was part of their existence up until the start of the industrial age when life got quote unquote simpler. But now that we have all this stuff in our lives, it's actually affecting our sleep patterns. So our technology, our entertainment, our TV, our stress levels, and our lack of physical fitness is actually contributing to our inability to sleep properly and consistently.
Yeah. In my healing practice, I've noticed that sleep deprivation is one of the key reasons for creating an imbalance energetically and physically in the body. What are you seeing with your clients?
Sleep has such a huge impact on performance and strength. It affects all our body systems from having our heart rate be higher, our resting heart rate's higher, our cortisol levels stay higher. So we're in chronic stress mode in fight or flight rather than actually rest and digest, relax mode, which incidentally turns off fat burning. So it becomes this feedback loop that never allows us to quite get caught up and feel normal.
So what is normal?
Normal sleep patterns, generally 7 to 9 is where 85 to 90% of the people fall in. There's some people that say they can live with 4. Most of us need 7 to 9 hours sleep. So a good way to know is if you're sleepy after lunch. If you're sleepy after lunch, chances are you're sleep deprived and you've racked up some sleep debt.
Sleep debt, what's that?
Sleep debt is something we accumulate over time. So if we're consistently not getting enough rest, we kind of have this bank that maxes at about 50 hours of sleep debt. We can't bank millions of hours of sleep debt, but 50 hours. So that means to bring you back into balance where you're not sleepy during the day and you have your full energy, you'd have to go to bed 1 to 2 hours earlier for 4 to 5 weeks in order to catch up on all that sleep time.
Whoa.
That's a considerable investment of changing your schedule, yes.
Are there any other solutions if we can't fit that into our schedule?
Stay in bed longer, nap. It's challenging.
So other than feeling sleepy after lunch, are there any other clues to tell us that we're headed towards sleep deprivation?
Just kind of fatigue, brain fog is a big one that clients experience. Like you just can't quite think clearly. Just not having your usual get up and go and strength. And we usually mask it with caffeine or other stimulants. So we might not necessarily be aware of it because we have our normal ways of coping. So that we don't necessarily know that we are tired because we're always charging ourselves up with sugar or caffeine or something.
As a crutch to help us get through, and maybe at the weekend when we get a chance to sleep in, maybe catch up on some of that debt, perhaps.
Yes. Not enough to make a dent though. We need longer than a weekend.
Do you have anything to share about some other aspects of our modern day life that can affect our sleep?
Just our sleep environment. So we live in a much noisier, busier world. Most of us probably have some kind of hum or some kind of siren if we live in a city, or just something that always doesn't necessarily make us consciously awake, but it breaks us out of our sleep cycle. So things like noise, having a bedroom that's too warm doesn't allow us to get fully into that REM.
So you talked about temperature, bedroom
Mhm.
temperature. Is there an ideal bedroom temperature?
Generally, 67 degrees Fahrenheit or about 19 degrees Celsius is a comfortable sleep temperature for most people. Some people tend to run a little hot. They even have cooling mattresses and cooling pillows, and that could be a time of life thing, or it could be just your metabolism. But finding a comfortable temperature for you.
And what about lights in the room or
Light,
through coming through the window, for instance?
light is such a huge thing. If you live in the city, you don't actually have true darkness. Like even on blackout blinds, you still have that white line on the side of the windows.
Hmm.
Your mind still perceives that an alarm, your alarm clock too close to the bed. That can actually you can actually perceive that through your eyelids, which might affect our melatonin production, which we need darkness to produce, which helps us sleep better. Serotonin turns into melatonin in darkness. So happy turns to sleepy in the absence of light.
For me, I've noticed a big difference when I have an alarm clock that I can turn the light off, and so that my room is totally dark.
Mhm.
And so I found that that made a big difference to my sleep patterns.
Consistency is huge. Regular sleep wake up times and regular go to bed times is huge in patterning and getting your body used to a regular rhythm. We have a biorhythm that happens. So if we're constantly sleeping in on the weekends and then staying up late on the Friday and then going through the week and then have to get up earlier than we're normal and then staying up late and just constantly doing this up and down, we never find a pattern that our body's actually comfortable with. So it's always in that kind of ready and aware mode. So it's much harder for us to access those deep sleep cycles. We get different sleep cycles through the night. We usually get one, like our hormone cycle, our growth hormone comes up. We go into deeper rest, and different levels of our brain waves happen. And it happens in cycles of about 3 hours generally for most people. So if you're only sleeping 6.5 hours, you're only getting two cycles. If you're sleeping 9 hours, you're getting three cycles, right? So if you're not constantly have 3 hours in a set point, you're probably missing some important sleep cycles. And once we're in our deep sleep, our cerebral spinal fluid in our brain kind of circulates and clears out all the junk. So all the accumulated waste from the cells and the activity, there's some evidence that it could have something to do with plaquing in degenerate brain diseases. So we need that deep sleep to actually help clear our brain and flush it out.
So if we're
Yeah.
not getting that deep sleep, what's happening?
Well, we end up with that brain fog, right? That you can't concentrate. Your mind is dirty. It's all junked up with all this leftover waste that our body hasn't been able to clear yet.
And if we put other things into our body like alcohol and caffeine, which our body needs to work harder to process that through. So if we're not sleeping enough, so basically we're backing up with toxin.
Yeah, that's what happens. And then we're constantly kind of like a little foggy and looking for that sharpness that we're missing. Alcohol is a little double-edged sword. People say it helps them fall asleep, and they've done studies, and true, it does help you fall asleep. If you take too much alcohol, it's going to affect your sleep cycle. So you're going to wake up usually an hour and a half to 3 hours after you go to bed, and then you're wide awake. So it kind of messes up some of that flow. But one drink for most people, fine, relaxes them, helps you feel calm, and actually helps people crash sometimes. Of course, if you're using it regularly in abuse, then, it's like using caffeine all the time. You're going to lose that effect.
Mm-hmm. When you're awake at night, and I find a lot of clients are sharing this particular story with me, that when they do wake up, they can't get back to sleep again. Do you have any suggestions or tips on what could help in that situation?
Tune into yourself and see, why are you awake? Is something hurting? Like every time you roll over, does your shoulder hurt? Is that something you need to address? Do you have an injury or back pain or something that you can maybe take the steps to address to feel better so that pain doesn't wake you up every night? Is there a regular noise that's in your environment that wakes you up? Is there a particular thought that you keep ruminating about that keeps waking you up? Like once you identify your problem, or what you think your problems are, then you can start taking steps to address them. Sometimes it's good to write a worry journal. So a little quiet time before bed, winding down, low light, you and a little notepad, and your big worry, and then try to write down a couple of actionable thoughts, how you can deal with that problem that you're ruminating about. And it's supposed to be like a brain dump. So once you get it out of your head, your mind can move on because it's in your brain. It's already solved because you've already got solutions on the paper, and maybe you can let that go a little better.
Mm-hmm. I actually share that idea with some of my clients, but what I suggest to them is not right before bed, because then you can start thinking about all of the problems and they'll sit in your subconscious as well. So
Fair enough.
maybe even, a couple of hours before you know that you're going to be getting ready for bed, that schedule that you've set for yourself to go to bed at a certain time each night,
Yeah.
and to offload, as you said, to brain dump some of those things that are on your mind. And if you can come up with solutions, that's awesome. And I can see why that would quieten the mind. I would imagine that after doing that, we could do some other things to really quieten ourselves down, like maybe some meditation or listening to some gentle music. Do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. If you're done that process and you find yourself awake at night, just do some deep breathing. Honestly, 10 deep breaths. If you get to 10 and you don't, and you get through that exercise a couple times, get up and do something else. Don't turn on any screens. Pick a low light and a book that isn't too interesting. Worry less about the sleep. That's the worst thing you can do, is think, oh God, I'm not sleeping, I'm not sleeping, I'm not sleeping, I'm not sleeping. Turn your alarm clock to the wall so you don't wake up every time and go, oh God, I've only slept an hour. Right? So if you take the thought of, I need to do this out, and take that pressure off yourself, your body will do what it's going to do that day. But you're still going to take steps to make it better the next day. But the secret to getting over that insomnia or sleep pattern is, when you get up in the morning, put it out of your mind that you didn't sleep for 3 hours. Get on with your day. Don't use that as an excuse to be whatever. Because if that's always in your mind, you're going to be aware that, oh, I should feel tired. So then you'll feel tired.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just get up and go, guess what? Today might be a really good day.
Give it a chance.
Give it a chance. Don't kill it before it starts.
Yeah. Well, everybody has sleep issues from time to time. What I've noticed that helps for me, number one, as I mentioned before, a dark room, and also the temperature, a lower temperature, cooler temperature than the daytime house temperature, I find works. But there's a couple of things that I've noticed and I share with my clients. And one of them is to put your thoughts in an invisible basket on the floor, so that when the thought comes into your mind, see, the thought isn't going to go away just because you say, get out of my head, I don't want to think of you right now, right? Because thoughts are important. They want to make sure you don't forget something, or they want to make sure that you haven't figured, that they're going to be taken care of.
Problems to be solved, yes.
Right. And so what I suggest is put those thoughts in the basket in a safe place so that they can wait until morning. Then you
Well,
can take them out of the basket and address them, because in the middle of the night, are you really going to solve any of those problems?
I love that. I love that. I think that's great.
If you were to put the light on and write them down, that is one thing, but then you've got the light issue. You've given your eyes some light, which then your body starts to think, oh, the sun's come up, it's morning. And another thing is, instead of sitting up and getting up and walking around, stay still, stay in your sleeping position, and don't move from it unless you really have to. Because if you do, then you've told your mind that there's another activity other than sleeping. When your mind wants to go on to the thought, maybe something that you did write down in your worry journal, and it wants to start thinking about that issue, what I have tried, and it does work, is think of a song, probably a song from childhood or a Christmas carol or a happy birthday song, or just something that you don't have to think about, and just sort of sing that song to yourself. It's not activating your mind, but it will prevent you from putting your thoughts onto the thought that keeps you awake at night.
Interesting. I usually get it the other way. For me, it's like an earworm. So it'll be like one line of a song and it just repeats over and 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 over, but I can't shut it off.
So that keeps you awake because you're listening to
That
it?
keeps me awake. So I'm doing that in my head. So I go back to my breathing. That works for me.
Ah, okay, yeah, the breathing. So yeah, there's different things that I share with my clients about breathing, and as you mentioned, one of them about counting to 10. So you breathe in and you think one, and you breathe out and you think two, and you breathe in and think three, and you got to get to 10. But if you can't reach 10 without your mind going on to something, then you start again from the very beginning. And the reason being is your mind is too busy. So you just keep doing that activity until you can actually get to 10, and maybe do it in a few rounds. And I find that helps me fall back to sleep again
Mm,
afterwards.
Once we normalize our sleep patterns, we start that wind down process. So what we need is some sleep hygiene for most people. So that just means a regular routine that they do, something that's centering and grounding, like a ritual they do before bed. So you brush your teeth, you have the lights low, you have the sound low, you have your book, and you have this pattern or routine that you do every night. So our body knows by taking those actions, it's preparing for rest. But if you're out late and then rush home and then have a shower and hop into bed, and then the next night you go to bed at like 7 because you're tired from the night before, you don't have any patterning. Your body doesn't know where normal is. So it's a sleep hygiene thing. So an hour before bed, turn the lights down a little lower. Don't have bright fluorescents. Don't use your screens. They have blue light, which can affect our melatonin production. And then if you're a reader, read, but don't read something that's going to be so engaging, you're going to be so excited to read it. Something a little lighter. Or if you're not a reader, some soft music or something just in the background, nothing too stimulating. Some people enjoy a white noise machine or a fan, and just that steady sound kind of resets your brain patterns a little bit, and gets them to calm down. Feeling that, a hot shower before bed or a hot bath, it's kind of relaxing. If you add some Epsom salts in there, you might absorb some magnesium, which is very relaxing for smooth and skeletal muscles and really helps us relax. There's certain supplements that some people use, but that's a double-edged sword because it doesn't work for everybody. I like a sleepy time tea blend. Works well for me. It's got some herbs in it. Lemon balm is actually really great and relaxing. Little things that are part of your routine. So for me, an hour before bed, I brush my teeth at the start because mint can be stimulating for some people. It's something to think about. So if you're using like a really minty mouthwash, you might feel all fresh and awake rather than
Mm.
sleepy and ready for bed. But if you have a date or a bedmate, you've got to pick your poisons there. Figure out your battles, right? Sex or sleep is the only reason to be in bed. You don't sit there and watch TV. You don't work in bed. It's got a purpose. It's for our rest. So again, it's that patterning thing and training our mind that is where we go to rest.
Yeah, so the bedroom is just for those activities and nothing else. The idea of what you watch on the television, for instance, before bedtime, that makes a big difference. I find if you've been watching an action or a thriller movie or even the news, that can
Yeah.
create some stress levels in your body that, no wonder you can't fall asleep, or if it's in sitting in your subconscious, right?
Well, it cranks our adrenaline up. We're ready to go. It's that fight or flight. We're not in the movie, but we're participating in it,
Right.
right? So it's that can have an impact for sure. Get you all wound up, or same as listening to the wrong kind of music, right?
Yeah, so whatever we can do for relaxation, maybe some kind of a ritual that we give ourselves, and it's that consistency of the ritual that tells the body now is the time to wind down, now is the time to go to sleep, and I guess then that sets off the melatonin levels in the right balance. Would that
Yes.
be accurate?
Yeah. It's getting that rhythm in our body, right? So the lights are low, our melatonin can be produced. We're in a dark room. We're taking all the steps we can at that moment to ensure we have a good sleep. But there's also things we do during the day has an impact as well, right? Having a big heavy dinner, so our stomach is like active while we're in bed, and then we have reflux or burping or those kind of things that can have a big impact as well. Or eating too much at night, so you have dinner and then you snack for an hour or two while watching TV, and then you think you're going to go to bed. You don't need a full stomach to sleep. That being said, blood sugar can affect our sleep as well. So if you're on a low carb diet and you're having trouble sleeping, you might find you have a greater effect if you add some starchier carbs to your dinner that at night. It's if we have a low blood sugar, then our body thinks, okay, well, we need to wake up and eat, but we don't necessarily register it as hunger.
So, what are your thoughts about exercise?
I was just going there. Yeah. Exercise is a huge thing. So if you have restless legs, there's lots of reasons for restless legs, but if your body just feels like it wants to be moving, maybe it should have been moving during the day. If you think about going back to our hunter gatherer lifestyle, or even pre industrial age, we worked for a living. We had to work all day in order to put the meals on the table and survive because it was a much harsher climate. So when we went to bed, we were tired. But if we're sitting all day, we're not walking anymore, and we're driving everywhere, we haven't really expended any energy. So our body hasn't really had that release um, to actually make us tired.
It has no reason for us to be tired because we haven't done anything to tire us out.
Exactly. Exercise also helps, normalize our blood sugar patterns and help with that. It can help with our cortisol levels as well. There's all those feel good endorphins that get produced from exercise and higher aerobics. So it's the ebb and flow. Exercise also does a lot to reset our bodies. So if that's one step we take during the day as well, then it gives us one more coin in the chance of having a good sleep pile than not.
Hmm. Is there anything that you really want to get across to our listener about how they can manage and create better sleep pattern in their life?
Routine is number one. If you're a night owl and then you sleep in the day, and that's a comfortable pattern for you on the normal, and it works with your lifestyle, great. If you have to get up early for work, but you'd rather be sleeping in on the weekends, then you might have to adjust your schedule to being a morning person instead. So you wake up at a regular time, you go to bed at a regular time, and after about 2 weeks, you can change patterns from being a night owl to a morning person. But it's that consistency that's going to make a bigger difference than sleeping in on the weekends.
The consistency and the pattern so that our body knows now it's time to sleep. And so it goes into the mode of creating restful sleep for us.
It's the best start. Rather than troubleshooting, start with that. If that's not working, then you can look at your sleep hygiene and what your routine is at night, and what else you can do to make that more positive towards a good night's sleep. But just a consistent start and end time for sleep can often have the biggest impact for people.
Awesome. Well, thanks ever so much for sharing your wisdom on the subject.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to see you.
Keep listening for summary, an observation, and a special gift for you. Here are the main points. Number 1, stay active. Regular activity helps promote a good night's sleep by expending energy. Schedule exercise during the day or at least a few hours before bed. And be sure to avoid stimulating activities before bedtime. Number 2, stick to a sleep schedule. Keep your bedtime and wake time consistent from day to day, including on weekends. Aim to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep or 2 to 3 sleep cycles of 3 hours each. Number 3, pay off your sleep debt. We can still function with 50 hours of sleep debt, but after that, you'll need to pay down that debt. To get back to having your full energy, you could try to go to bed 1 to 2 hours earlier for 4 to 5 weeks. Number 4, avoid or limit sugar, caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine. All of these can make it harder to sleep, and effects can last for several hours. Number 5, don't put up with pain. If a painful condition bothers you, talk to your health professional about options for pain relievers that can control pain while you sleep. Number 6, check your medications. If you take medications regularly, check with your doctor to see if they can contain caffeine or other stimulants that may be contributing to your insomnia. Number 7, avoid naps. Naps can make it harder to fall asleep at night, and if you can't get by without one, try to limit a nap to no more than 30 minutes and don't nap after 3 p.m. And number 8, avoid large meals and beverages before bed. Stabilize your blood sugar levels in your diet and drink less liquid before bedtime so that you won't have to urinate as often. So points to consider in the evening are, number 1, wind down 1 to 2 hours before bed. Turn the lights down low and avoid fluorescent lighting. Eliminate screen time, as the blue light that screens emit can reduce melatonin production. Try to put your worries and planning aside. Keep a worry journal. Write down your big worry and a couple of actionable steps. Number 2, avoid overstimulation. Watching action or thriller movies or even the news before bed can raise adrenaline levels and reduce melatonin levels. Number 3, create a relaxing bedtime ritual. Take a hot shower or bath. Read light subject matter. Listen to soft music. Practice breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, or prayer. And number 4, make your bedroom comfortable for sleep. Only use your bedroom for sex or sleep. Keep it dark and quiet and at a lower temperature. And here are the main points to think about at bedtime. Number 1, avoid knowing the time. Hide all the clocks in your bedroom, including your wristwatch and cell phone, so you don't worry about what time it is or how much sleep you're missing. Number 2, put your thoughts in an imaginary basket. Your thoughts are important. Let them wait safely in the basket until morning. Number 3, stay in your sleeping position. If you wake up and you can't get back to sleep, sitting up or getting out of bed can interrupt your sleep mode. Number 4, prevent your mind from engaging into the worry or concern. When you notice the thought coming, divert your attention onto a song or mantra and actively avoid thinking the worrisome thought. And number 5, focus on your breath. Practice conscious breathing techniques to lower your heart rate. Use progressive muscle relaxation techniques to release stress and tension in the body and mind. So that night after my conversation with Jody Boynton, I woke at 3:33 in the morning and I had an opportunity to try some of our suggestions. So first I tried the 10 count breath, but I found that I couldn't reach 10 after having many tries. But while doing the exercise, I realized that the depth of my breath was shallow. And that's when I remembered a tool that I use with most of my clients in my healing center. And it's so effective that I can get clients sleeping and often snoring within 10 minutes. So it works to quieten and refocus the mind, control our negative or worrying thoughts, and it helps to release stored tension in the body because we're using progressive muscle relaxation and breathing techniques that lower the heart rate. This has become my signature tool, my most valuable tool in my professional tool belt. So bookmark it or mark it as a favorite for the next time you suffer from insomnia. But first, a word of caution. If you're listening to this podcast while driving, pause it now for obvious reasons and listen to it at a more appropriate time. And lastly, I've omitted the music at the end so you can use this to drift into a beautiful, rejuvenating sleep and stay there. Here's my gift to you. Lie comfortably and allow your eyes to close. And tell yourself that you're in a safe place. And in your imagination, take yourself off to a place that is incredibly relaxing. Somewhere you've been before, perhaps, or somewhere in your imagination. Somewhere safe and warm and comfortable. And as you breathe slowly and deeply, when you breathe in, you can breathe down into your belly. And when you breathe out all the air. Just notice your breathing, the depth, the pace, and slow it down slightly. And breathe a little more deeply. And as you do, you feel your body start to relax. As you relax your shoulders, you relax your jaw, you relax your face, the muscles around your eyes. You allow your head to feel heavy. Breathing deeply. In your imagination, notice a basket on the floor. This is your special basket. And in it, you can place all your current thoughts and concerns and worries. Place them all safely in the basket beside you. You don't need them right now, and they can stay safely in this basket until we're finished. And as another thought or concern comes to mind, place it in the basket. As you focus on your breath, breathing slowly and deeply, feeling safe and warm and comfortable. As your shoulders are relaxing, you relax your arms and your elbows, your hands and your fingertips. Breathing deeply. Feeling your chest expand as you breathe in. Feeling your belly expand as you breathe in. And feeling your chest and your belly contract as you breathe out. Feeling warm and heavy and safe. Putting any thoughts in the basket as they come to mind. Just simply notice them and place them in the basket. As you breathe deeply, allowing your muscles to relax, relaxing your stomach, relaxing your hips, relaxing your thighs, relaxing your knees, feeling warm and heavy and safe. Breathing deeply, relaxing your legs, your ankles, your feet, and your toes. Feeling warm and heavy and safe. As you allow yourself to drift in this safe space. Breathing deeply. As you relax deeply now, as you drift further and further away.